So over the last year, pretty much every time I've uploaded a video to YouTube or Instagram, I get messages, comments regarding alternate picking, particularly picking hand speed and breaking through plateaus. The reasons I'm sharing this particular exercise are, firstly, it's solely for picking hand speed. Secondly, it pretty much yields instant results. And I've personally not seen anybody do a video on anything similar yet. So for the people watching this who are familiar with bodybuilding and weightlifting, you may have come to a point where you've hit a plateau in terms of the amount of reps you're doing at a certain weight. For example, the bench press. Let's say your maximum lift for 10 reps is 100 kilograms, but your goal is to lift 105 kilograms for the same number of reps. Only every time you attempt that weight, you might have the strength to lift the weight, but not enough endurance to achieve 10 reps. So I would then focus on stimulating as many muscle fibers as I can by lifting heavier, maybe 110 or 115, but minimising fatigue by dropping the rep range down to only 1, 2 or 3. When I then move back down to my goal weight, which is lighter, because I've gone into that set with more muscle fibers stimulated than usual, and I haven't fatigued them with a higher rep range, in most cases I will achieve the 10 reps at that weight. So this exercise follows the same idea, but instead of weights we're using speed, and the number of reps in this case are the amount of notes we're picking. So for the purpose of demonstrating this, let's assume that my maximum picking speed is 200 BPM. I'm going to set what I think is a realistic goal, maybe 5 to 10% increase in speed. So I want to get an accurate tremolo for a reasonable length of time at about 220 beats per minute or better if possible. Before I demonstrate the exercise, it's important that when you are performing it, that you're honest with yourself. What I mean by that is you're not just focusing on speed, but you are playing genuine 16th notes and, not just unevenly cramming them into a beat. To begin with, I'm going to start at 200 beats per minute and hopefully work my way up to 280 beats per minute by adding 10 BPM with each set. At each of those speeds, we are simply just going to pick 5/16ths on each note that we fret. So that will be one beat worth of 16ths, followed by the first 16th of the following beat, and then resting for the remainder of that bar. For this, I always use an F-sharp minor arpeggio. Any arpeggio is fine, but the main purpose of it is to practice each fragment of notes throughout the neck, just to adapt properly to the differences in string tension. So that is basically the exercise, only now we're going to do that exact same thing, just at different speeds. Between each speed change, you also want to make sure you're getting enough rest, because fatigue in anything is the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So personally, I try to take a good minute before I repeat it again at a higher speed. So I've just completed the exercise at 240 BPM. So that means I've now done it 5 times, each time being 10 BPM faster than the last. Only now, as the exercise gets faster, naturally those little micro rests we're having between each fragment of notes is getting shorter. So now I feel I need to extend that rest, maybe even rest in another bar, just to make sure I don't burn anything out. Okay, so now I'm at a point where, if I was to be honest with myself, there was very little accuracy there, and I felt that I wasn't maintaining genuine 16ths over that short period of time. Now I'm going to work back down in reverse by subtracting 10 BPM each time. So next it's going to be 270, 260 and so on. Each time the speed is lowered, I'm going to add an extra 4 notes to each fragment. So at 270 now, I'm going to pick 9 consecutive 16ths. So that's 2 beats worth of 16ths plus the first 16th of the following beat. Next, I'm going to perform the exercise at 260 BPM with 13 note fragments. So that's 3 beats worth of 16ths plus the first 16th of the following beat. But this time, to minimise fatigue as much as I possibly can, I want to see if I can reduce the volume of picking that I'm actually doing. So I'm going to remove the minor third from the arpeggio. So now I'm basically just ascending and descending in fourths and fifths. So next I'm going to be doing this at 250 BPM, and even though the fragment of notes is getting longer, I definitely feel I'm at a point where the exercise is becoming easier, but I still want to make sure I don't burn out. So I think I'm going to increase the rest time between those fragments up to an entire bar, maybe even 2 bars. So now I'm going to do 17 consecutive 16ths at 250 beats per minute. Right, so I've just finished the exercise at 240 BPM and each fragment contained 21 consecutive 16ths. I feel now that I might burn up in the exercise, so I'm going to try and reduce the volume again by removing the fifth. So now I'm basically just moving around in octaves. Okay, so now I'm back down to my goal speed, which is 220 BPM, but I'm going to take a bit more rest than usual just for the final test. When I set myself any sort of goal, not just speed, but with any technique, I always try and find some practical test that I have to pass in order to officially declare I've achieved whatever goal. So in this case for me, I think the longest time I actually spend alternate picking is probably the track Crystal Beach from my album Heavy Balance. So during the mid section of the track, there's a lick that lasts around 32 beats if we was to consider it at 200 BPM. So that's 128 consecutive notes. For me personally, if I can pick 129 consecutive notes, adding that extra 16th, that's good enough for me. So that's pretty much the exercise. I've not only used this to achieve my own personal speed goals, it's also been a brilliant warm-up before recording or playing live. The best use I've actually had of it is pretty much instantly regaining my speed and accuracy after taking any sort of time off away from playing. In most cases, I've just got to get through the exercise up and down just once and I'm pretty much back to where I was. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say well done and thank you very much. And if you do give it a go, let me know what your results are in the comments. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was crap, give it a thumbs down. And I'm also going to do a separate video totally dedicated to improving fret and hand speed, along with some other tips you might not know of, just to try and speed up mastering alternate picking. And I'm also going to do a separate video totally dedicated to fret and hand speed. If you don't want to miss those, make sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.